Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
You're going back and forth between like a vineyard, family-owned, in Italy.
Okay.
You're securing a shipment of sparkling wine.
Right.
And then you hop on a call, right?
Mm.
And you're negotiating a deal to bring award-winning craft beers to customers all over the globe.
I like it.
Sounds pretty good, right?
Sounds great.
But behind the scenes,
Yeah.
you have the import-export specialist in beverages
Yeah.
who's making sure these drinks go from, the producer to the consumer.
Right.
So today, we are going to like unpack what this role actually like entails, all the things, right? We're going to arm you with the knowledge and the skills to answer any interview question.
I love it. It's such a cool career too, it really is, because it's got it all, right? You've got international intrigue, you've got like the art of the deal.
Totally.
And then you've got to be really precise because it's global trade and there's a lot of regulations.
You got to know your stuff.
You got to know your stuff.
And that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
Yes.
This AI-powered platform,
Yeah.
it's a game changer for anyone who is serious. Like if you are serious about acing your interview, this is it.
It's a superpower.
It is.
It's like this superpower.
Because not only does it give you sample interview questions for the role, right?
Yes.
But it gives you feedback on your answers. It lets you practice through mock interviews.
And the feedback is tailored to you.
Yeah.
It's not just general feedback because the AI has looked at the job description.
It knows.
It knows what you're going for, and it'll tell you.
It's amazing.
This is good, but this could be better.
Yes.
Use this word, not that word. So it's amazing.
It's amazing. So speaking of interview questions.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's dive into some common ones for import-export specialists in beverages.
Okay.
With insights, again, from RoleCatcher.
Love it.
Okay, so first up,
Okay.
what inspired you to pursue a career as an import-export specialist in beverages?
Oh, that's a great question.
Right. It seems simple.
It does, yeah.
What are they trying to find out by asking that?
Yeah, they're not just asking you, do you like beer? Right. They want to know, like, what got you into this?
Yeah.
Like, what's your story? What's your origin story?
Right.
So is it that, like, you went on a trip and you were fascinated by the fact that, a certain beverage is so important in a certain culture?
Like wine in Italy.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe your parents were in import-export and you kind of grew up around it.
Right.
Share a story that shows,
Yes.
how much you love beverages and the global marketplace.
Right, so it's not just a job. Like this is something you're really interested in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some pitfalls? Like what are things people should avoid when answering this question?
I think sometimes people will, fall back on those really generic answers.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm a hard worker.
I'm a people person.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't tell me anything.
It doesn't tell me anything about you.
About you and why you want this job.
Yeah.
So instead of saying something like that, be specific.
Okay.
Like talk about how you've always been curious about where your coffee beans come from.
Okay.
Or you've worked with a lot of different cultures.
Oh, right.
And so you really understand the global marketplace.
Okay.
So connect those dots.
Right. Connect the dots between what you've done and what you want to do.
Exactly.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can help.
Oh, 100%.
Because it'll look at your answers.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you if they're good.
It'll tell you, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Or it'll be like, this is a little weak. You might want to beef this up.
It's amazing.
It's like a bait.
Okay. Ready for the next interview question?
Hit me.
Okay.
I'm ready.
RoleCatcher says this one comes up a lot.
Okay.
Tell us about your experience in managing import-export documentation and compliance requirements.
Okay.
Now, this one is a lot more technical.
Yeah. And it's important because this is a very detail-oriented job, right?
Right.
So they want to know that you're the type of person who's going to get it right.
Right. And not mess up the paperwork.
Exactly.
And like you said, with all the regulations.
So many regulations. You got to be on top of it.
You can't be loosey-goosey with that stuff.
Exactly.
That's where RoleCatcher can really help.
Yeah.
Because you can like map out your experience beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely.
With like the documents, like what are all those documents? Bills of lading.
Bills of lading, yeah.
Certificates of origin.
Certificates of origin.
Customs forms.
Oh, so many forms.
Right.
But you got to know them.
Yes.
You got to know them.
And you got to know the regulations for those specific products. Like if you're importing wine or spirits.
Exactly, yeah. You're going to have to know what the TTB, what their regulations are.
The what?
The Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, or TTB.
Oh.
Because they're the ones who...
You're the ones?
They're the ones who regulate that.
That makes sense.
That.
Okay, so what's the big pitfall here? Like, what should they avoid saying?
Don't lie.
Oh.
Because it's a small world,
Yeah.
and they probably know people.
They probably do know people.
And if they check, they'll find out.
Yeah, no one wants that.
So if you don't have a ton of experience, that's okay.
Right.
Just be upfront about it and say, I'm really eager to learn.
Honesty and enthusiasm.
It's a winning combination.
Yes. Speaking of honesty, let's be honest.
Okay.
Keeping up in this field, it's tough.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's constantly changing.
Constantly.
So RoleCatcher says this is a question they use to see how you're staying current. How do you stay up to date with the latest import-export regulations and industry trends?
It's a good one.
It is a good one.
Because what they're really asking is, are you committed
to learning?
Yeah. Are you going to, stay on top of things?
Yeah.
So it's not enough to just read Wine Spectator every once in a while.
Right.
They want you to be going to conferences, webinars, reading the trades, like really immersing yourself in the industry.
So yeah, it's not just passively reading an article here or there.
Exactly.
It's like being in it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and what about certifications? I feel like that's a big one, right?
Certifications are huge.
Yeah.
Because it shows that you are committed to this.
Okay.
It shows that you've taken the time.
Like you're invested.
You're invested in your career. You're invested in your own knowledge.
Right.
So RoleCatcher specifically recommends the Certified Custom Specialist, the CCS, and the Certified International Trade Professional.
Was it CITP?
The CITP, yes.
Okay.
Those are really valuable in this field.
Because they show that you are staying ahead of the game.
Because remember, it's constantly changing.
Right. New regulations all the time.
New trade agreements, all kinds of stuff.
So how do you answer that question then in a way that shows you're on top of it?
Yeah, don't just list the resources. Give examples. So for example, you might say something like, I went to this webinar on new labeling requirements for organic beverages.
Right.
And we actually implemented those changes at my company.
Okay.
Or I'm part of this online forum where people are always talking about the latest trade agreements.
I see. So you're showing them.
Yes, exactly.
You're not just telling them.
Exactly. Show, don't tell.
And again, that's where RoleCatcher can help.
RoleCatcher can help with all of this.
Because it'll analyze what you say.
Yes.
And how you say it.
Yep. Your tone, your delivery, everything.
It's amazing.
It's like having a coach in your pocket.
It is.
A little interview coach.
Yes. All right. Get ready for this one. How do you ensure efficient and cost-effective transport of goods across international borders?
Okay.
Now, this is all about logistics, right?
Yeah.
Which in the beverage industry, that's a big deal.
It's huge.
Because you've got products that have very specific needs in terms of how they're handled.
Absolutely.
Like you can't ship wine the same way you ship bottled water.
No, not even close.
So they want to know that you can do this whole dance between speed and reliability.
Yep.
And, of course, cost effectiveness.
Right, because you don't want to be losing money.
No.
While also making sure that those beverages arrive in perfect condition.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Oh, totally a delicate balance.
So it's more than just finding the cheapest shipping option.
Oh, 100%. It's about so much more than that.
Okay.
Right? You've got to think about the product itself.
Okay.
What are its needs?
Right.
Like if you're shipping a limited edition craft beer for a launch party.
Yeah.
You need that there on time.
It's got to be there.
So you're probably going to have to go with air freight.
Even though it's more expensive.
Even though it's more expensive, exactly.
Right. Whereas if it's just a regular old fruit juice.
Right.
That can just go on a boat.
Exactly. Put it in a container, temperature controlled, you're good to go.
Right. So it's knowing the difference.
Absolutely. It's all about knowing the difference.
What are some pitfalls here? What should people avoid saying?
I think a lot of people, they get in the weeds with the jargon.
Ah, yes. Very easy to do in this industry.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Or it's like, you know so much.
Right, exactly. And you want to show them how much you know.
Right.
But you also don't want to lose them.
Right. Don't use acronyms they won't understand.
Exactly. Like, what are Incoterms?
Right.
You know, they may not know what those are.
Or freight forwarding.
Exactly. So just keep it simple.
So keep it clear. Keep it simple.
Exactly. Clarity is key.
Yeah.
And I think the other mistake people make is they don't think about the what ifs.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Like, what if there's a hurricane?
Oh, right. Things happen.
Things happen, right?
Delays.
What if there's, congestion at the port?
Right.
You got to have a backup plan.
So it's all about being flexible.
Oh, flexibility is key in this job.
And a problem solver.
100% a problem solver.
So basically, be prepared to solve problems.
Be prepared.
Because they will come up
Oh, they will. They will.
So how can someone answer this in a way that really shows they know their stuff?
Yeah, give a specific example from your experience. Like you might say, in my last role, I managed, the import of these specialty coffee beans from South America.
Okay.
And to make sure we were being cost effective, I explored different shipping routes.
Oh, okay.
And I found this great freight forwarder who specialized in temperature-controlled containers.
Right.
So we were able to get the best of both worlds.
Right. So you're showing them you can find a solution that works for everyone.
Exactly.
That's a great answer.
That's a great answer.
Okay. Speaking of problem solving.
Yes.
Let's move on to a classic behavioral interview question that RoleCatcher highlights as a must prepare for. Tell us about a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a supplier or customer during an import-export transaction.
Ooh, the dreaded conflict question.
Right. Because these things happen.
They do. It's international business. It's going to happen.
Things are going to go wrong.
Oh, 100%.
And they want to know how you're going to handle it.
Exactly. Are you going to freak out?
Right.
Or are you going to be calm, cool, and collected?
Right. So what are some mistakes people make when answering this type of question?
I think people pick bad examples.
Okay, like what do you mean?
Like they'll pick an example where they were totally in the right.
Oh, okay.
And the other person was totally in the wrong.
Right. That doesn't really show you can resolve conflict.
Exactly. It doesn't show that you can see both sides.
It's more about...
Or that you can compromise.
Right, how you work together.
Exactly. It's not about being right.
Right, to find a solution.
It's about finding a solution.
Okay, and another mistake.
Being too vague.
Okay, so give me the details.
Give me the details.
What happened?
What was the conflict? How did you resolve it? What was the outcome? What did you learn?
Okay, yeah, paint the picture.
Exactly.
So how can someone craft an answer that really shines?
Focus on a time when you really had to navigate a tricky situation. Like maybe a shipment was delayed because of customs.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time.
Right. So you could say something like, I understood the customer was frustrated, and I immediately reached out to the supplier and the customs broker.
Okay.
And, I kept the customer in the loop the whole time.
Transparency, I like it.
Right. Even though there was a slight delay, the customer appreciated that.
Because you were honest and upfront.
Exactly. Honesty and transparency.
That's a good quality.
Very important in this business.
And it shows that you care.
It does. It shows that you care about your customers and you care about your suppliers.
That's great.
Right. You're the bridge.
You're the bridge between those two worlds.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on to the next question, I want to go back to something you said about continuous learning.
Yes.
Because RoleCatcher, they don't just give you interview prep.
Right.
They talk about, like, the skills you need.
To succeed in the role.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be good at this job.
Yeah.
And one that I thought was really interesting was active listening.
Oh, that's huge.
How does that play into this whole import-export thing, especially with beverages?
Because you're dealing with people from all over the world.
Well,
different cultures, different communication styles. It's so important to really listen.
It's more than just the words.
100%.
It's understanding where they're coming from.
Right. Like, what are their cultural norms?
It's a good point.
What's considered polite in one culture might be rude in another.
Right. So you have to know the difference.
You have to know.
Okay, so it's like cultural awareness plus listening skills.
Absolutely. It's like cultural intelligence almost.
That's huge.
Huge.
And I imagine a skill that can be learned.
Oh, absolutely. You can learn it. You can practice it.
You don't have to be born with it.
Exactly. It's a muscle you can build.
I like that.
And you know what? RoleCatcher can help with that too.
Oh, how so?
Their AI can actually analyze your tone of voice
Wow.
and your delivery to help you come across as more confident and culturally sensitive.
That's incredible.
It's like having a coach right there in your pocket.
Wow. Okay, ready for another interview question?
Hit me.
This next one from RoleCatcher is all about, like, protecting yourself and the company.
Okay.
How do you ensure compliance with international trade regulations and avoid penalties?
Big one.
Yeah, it's like the legal side of beverages.
Yeah. You really got to be on top of it, too, because it's not just knowing the rules. It's like you got to living and breathing compliance,
Yeah, because there's a lot, right?
There's so much. There's import duties.
Oh, yeah, don't forget those.
And labeling requirements. Is it organic? Is it not? Like, what are the certifications?
It's a lot to keep track of.
A lot. So many things.
So you can't just go and be like, I follow the rules.
Right. No, that's not going to cut it.
What are some mistakes that people make when they answer this question?
I think people, sometimes they get caught up in like the fear of it, you know?
Right.
They focus on what happens if you mess up.
Right, which is bad.
Which is really bad.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your import license or whatever.
No, absolutely not. But a better way to answer it is to talk about what you do to stay ahead of the game.
So like what systems you have in place.
Exactly. Like, are you using any software to track all this?
To make sure you're in line?
Yeah. Have you created a checklist for yourself?
So you don't miss anything.
So you don't miss anything. Exactly.
Okay, so it's about being organized.
Organized. Detail-oriented, yeah.
Meticulous.
Exactly.
Okay, so you could say something like, I use a spreadsheet to track all the updates from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection website.
Perfect.
Something like that.
That's great because it shows that you're being proactive.
Right. You're not waiting for them to tell you.
Exactly.
You're staying ahead of it.
One step ahead.
Okay, ready for our final interview question?
I'm ready.
All right, RoleCatcher saved a big one for last.
Okay.
How do you manage cultural differences and language barriers when working with international stakeholders?
Oh, yeah.
And this is huge, right?
Yeah. This is so important. Yeah.
Because you could be talking to someone in Argentina one day.
Right.
And Japan the next.
Totally different cultures.
So it's more than just language, right?
So much more.
It's like understanding how they do business.
Yes.
How they communicate.
How they communicate, their sense of humor even.
Even their sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like what might be funny here could be offensive somewhere else.
Right. So it's like you have to be so careful.
You got to be really, really aware.
Culturally aware.
Culturally aware, yeah.
Okay.
It's about being adaptable and building relationships.
Even when they're thousands of miles away.
Thousands of miles away, exactly.
So how can someone answer this in a way that really shows they get it?
Share your experiences.
Okay.
Have you taken the time to actually learn about different cultures?
Right. Do your research. Like before a call even.
Exactly. Or maybe, use a translation service.
If you need to.
If you need to, yeah. Or maybe you've been in a situation where you had to be really careful about time zones.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're on a different time.
That happens all the time.
So it's like those little things that show you're being respectful.
Respectful and considerate, exactly.
I like it.
And again, RoleCatcher can help with this.
Oh, how so?
The AI can actually analyze your language and your tone.
Wow.
To make sure you're conveying the right message.
So you don't accidentally offend someone.
Exactly. You don't want to do that.
Well, we've covered a lot today about being an import-export specialist in beverages.
That's a cool job.
It is a cool job. It sounds really interesting.
Fast-paced.
Fast-paced. You're in the know about all the new drinks.
You get to travel.
You get to travel if you want to.
You get to taste a lot of beverages.
That's true. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
And we talked about how to answer some tough interview questions.
With RoleCatcher's help.
With RoleCatcher's help, which is amazing.
It's a great tool.
So if you are serious about a career in import-export,
I highly recommend checking it out.
RoleCatcher can be a really valuable tool.
Definitely.
To help you land your dream job.
Your dream job in beverages.
In beverages.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.